Joining us now to talk about health care, the economy, and regulatory reform, among other hotly debated topics, Congressman John Dingell, Congressman Kevin Brady. Congressman, let me first start with you. You're the Dean of the House. Your father began introducing comprehensive national health care legislation decades ago.
1943 was the first time.
Is this the year when that dream is finally realized?
I think it's got to be. We have a massive problem on our hands. Healthcare costs today now for a single policy are $12,000. They're going to go to $25,000. By the year 2080 or thereabouts, we will find that the curve of healthcare costs and the gross domestic product will cross. We'll be spending every nickel we've got. By the year 2020, the healthcare package or insurance policy will cost about $25,000. The bankruptcies in the steel industry and more recently in the auto industry were largely connected with this. When Dad began this process, the idea was that this was a humanitarian concern. That remains so. But today it has become an economic necessity. The automobile you see rolling down the road has $750 worth of steel in it, $1,600 worth of health care. That's an incredible thing. And two persons every minute are dying for want of health care. And 4 every minute are going into bankruptcy.
Now, Congressman, you've just heard that argument about cost, and you know that it's a legacy issue for him. His dad was back in 1943 pushing this. Are you really going to try to stand in the way of the congressman realizing his dream?
Well, actually, we're big supporters of John Dingell. He's an institution here in Congress. We just have a different approach. We think there ought to be health care reform, but we know, and budget experts tell us, this won't lower the cost of health care, which is what everyone wants. Really won't cover enough Americans. They'll still be about 25 million. Now, actually, what we'd like to really focus on the truly uninsured, those who work for a small business, usually under 10 employees, those who are in between jobs, oftentimes because they're so mobile. We are so mobile as a society. And those who have pre-existing illnesses. We want to focus on covering the truly uninsured. And I think we ought to also focus, too, on affordability. You know, lawsuit reform does work. Squeezing the inefficiencies out of this system. 3 out of every $10 in health care today is wasted in paperwork, overhead, regulatory burdens. It's one of the reasons we pay more and really get less for health care than other countries. These plans that are before the House and Senate today really don't address those issues. So we want health care reform. We just have a different vision for it.
You know, Congressman Dingell, this is something we hear from a lot of the guests that we speak to, that they're all in favor of lowering the cost curve on how expensive health care is getting. Many of them are in favor of at least catastrophic care for the uninsured at this point. But there are big questions about how to get there. Is there a way to continue to do this if you don't have a public plan, if you don't have the government involved as a health care insurer?
Well, I think a public plan is an absolute necessity. And the reason is that we have found that the current pattern of state regulation does not work. There's no way whatever that we can control the costs and the behavior of the insurance companies. And so we've got to substitute for that competition. And the only way we can get them competition that will work is by seeing to it that we do have a public plan. The nonpartisan and bipartisan Joint Committee on Internal Revenue Taxation and the Congressional Budget Office say that we can do this with reasonable costs and that it is possible for the health insurance plans to compete with it. In fact, it is said that there will only be about 3% of people who will go under the public plan.
That's according to some estimates. If you ask the Lewin Group, which again is funded by UNH, as a unit of UNH, they will say that it's a much bigger percentage of people who will lose their existing health care benefits because their employers will pull them back and push them into the public plan.
Well, the Congressional Budget Office says that in point of fact, there will be an increase in the number of persons receiving employer-based health insurance by about 2 million people. That's a very significant change. Remember, we have 46 million Americans who have no health care now, and that will make a big bite out of the health care costs.
You're a legend because of your ability to arm twist, for lack of a better word, to reach deals in the crunch in the final days of legislation.
Tough guy.
Yes. What's harder, marshaling Republican support for this or getting Democrats on the same page?
Well, I'll take any vote I can get.
Right. Especially on this one.
The hard fact of the matter is that for reasons that I'm not quite sure we can discuss at length here, this has become a very partisan question. And we hope to get our Republican colleagues to join with us. Secretary Sebelius is going to be meeting with the Republican members today. And Mr. Hoyer and Mr. Cantor, leadership types on both sides of the aisle, will be meeting shortly to discuss what it is we can do to bring our Republican colleagues in.
Well, you mentioned partisanship. Let me close with a question to both of you all. First of all, Congressman Brady, do you think that Democrats are sincere, have been sincere, and shown it about getting Republican input, taking Republican ideas into their health legislation? And do you believe that the Republicans want to improve the legislation, or are they trying to kill President Obama's agenda? Let me start with you.
The answer is absolutely not. Democrats have not spent an hour sitting down with us to listen to our ideas. Here at the last minute, after months of our requesting meetings, they're going to give us sort of for show. We have 2 young children. We let them help set the dinner table and then praise them for cooking dinner. It really doesn't mean anything, and that's what we're seeing today.
You plead guilty to that?
The hand of friendship is out on this side of the aisle to our Republican colleagues. You're talking to a guy here who has been good. I've been able to get unanimously bills of great complexity out of the committee. I just got a food safety bill out unanimously. Last year we got a very comprehensive consumer product safety bill out of the committee. So I do have a history of working with my Republican colleagues. We're going to try to do it. We are trying to do it. One of the problems that exists, and this is a very real one, is that we are engaged now in the public drafting of legislation. This leads to all manner of unfortunate misunderstandings as to what it is that we're doing.
Wait a minute. It sounds like
we have done the regular process in the committees, and we will continue to do the regular process.
Don't tell me there's posturing.
No,
Pardon?
Don't tell me there's posturing.
But you say doing this in public. That means doing it under the light of day where people can actually see what's happening?
You're just seeing the unfortunate consequences of public drafting of legislation, and it makes a fine mess because people don't understand the complexities of this.
So it should be done behind closed doors?
Bismarck observed, if you like sausage or legislation, don't watch either one made.
Right, exactly. Right. Well, we're watching it get done this time.
I don't know. Well, I've always thought that the openness is something that's a good thing, though. The more people are involved, the better.
But that's assuming people really understand, have time to pay attention to the detail, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends if you trust what's happening behind closed doors or not, though.
Well, I'll tell you, we held over 51 town hall meetings. The people who came to our town hall meetings were knowledgeable. They'd read the bill. They knew health care issues. Their problem is too much of this has been done behind closed doors. They want it to be open. They want their ideas heard, and it's not.
Congressman Brady, thanks for joining us. And Congressman Dingell, who has made more sausage than just about anybody, thanks for being here.
Jimmy Dean.
We Poles make great sausage.
All right, well, thank you both for joining us. We do appreciate it.